the SATCAP Program Manager. And SATCAP is really indeed honored to be hosting this Women Empowerment webinar today. On behalf of the Mandela Mining Precinct SATCAPS program, we would like to welcome you and thank you for your participation in this Women webinar. Thank you to all the phenomenal women in mining, trade unions, and amazing speakers who will be sharing their insights, personal journeys, and experiences with us. Thank you to the SATCAP team and our collaboration partners, Reese SML for Change, for organizing this webinar for us to come together to talk about mining matters that matter to women. As a reminder about the SATCAP program, SATCAP is Mandela Mining Precinct's research program with a focus on people. The aim is to understand how people relate to each other and with technology in the process of modernization, to understand the challenges, effects, and impacts of modernization on people in mining, and to lend support to the environmental, social, and governance agenda, especially with regards to the social or the people-related aspects. We are hoping to contribute to sustainable relationships and shared value for all people in the modernizing mineral sector. And as SATCAP creates opportunity for awareness, understanding, acceptance, and capacity building, and importantly, taking stakeholders along on the mining modernization journey, it is very fitting for us to have a special occasion to empower our women involved in the mining modernization context. So do relax, be kind to yourself and to others, and enjoy the session. Having said that, I would love to share a quote from a poet who inspires me, Maya Angelou, who says, "I have learned that people will forget what you have said and people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." So we're hoping that you will have a wonderful experience today. I'm now going to hand over to our facilitator for the session, Rena Miller. Over to you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful experience today, ladies. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Shireen. Welcome to all the participants. Thank you to all the collaboration partners for joining us today. I am going to share some insights with you as we continue on this journey. And I want to start with, that might be inspirational to you. It meant a lot to me. So if you look at the picture, you will see a butterfly. And if I think of a butterfly, it do represents change. And just checking, Shireen, you can see my screen, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
Screen.
So butterfly, it represents change. And you can also see the butterfly is on a rock, meaning that sometimes change is difficult. But it also look at the path. And I see all the women that's here today and participating, you know, being involved to create a pathway for other women, for younger women, and even for older women. Now, if we think about a pathway, it is about positive leadership. And positive leadership really put the emphasis for us to say, what is it that we do that will elevate individuals and organizations? In addition, what will challenge them? But it's all about the elevation. How do we lift each other up in organizations? But positive leadership is also what goes right in organizations, in addition to what goes wrong. So it means that we need to look for what we are doing right. Positive leadership is also what gives life to organization. But we do acknowledge sometimes we have problems and it's life depleting, but we focus on life-giving energies. As women, we also need to acknowledge what is experienced as being good and acknowledge those good emotions, in addition to what is questionable. We need to explore what is extraordinary in addition to what is just effective. And then what is inspiring in addition to what is difficult. So the purpose of today, as Shireen said, is really to think about mining matters that matters to women, and also the positive inputs that you will give to us today. So there's a story about the older lady. And Shireen, we're not talking about me and you and Hanley. We're talking about older than us. So the one day, the older lady sees a butterfly trying very hard to come out of her cocoon. And the old lady stays and observes, now what is this butterfly trying to do? When she sees that the butterfly is not able to become out of the cocoon easily, she feels sad for her and decided to help somehow. So she takes a pair of scissors and cuts the cocoon so that the butterfly can get out. But she sees that as soon as she cuts open the cocoon, the butterfly came out injured and crawling. She was sure she didn't hurt the butterfly with the scissors, and there was no blood either. But she didn't realize that when the butterfly tries to come out of its cocoon, its body makes a fluid. As a butterfly struggles, the fluid pushes back into the body, into the wings. It is that struggle and fluid that gives the ability to the butterfly to fly. So without struggle, the butterfly would just be crawling, injured, and just the insect. Does it make sense?
Yes,
So
thank you.
Thank you for sharing the story. Nonke, we want to welcome you for sharing our story. I know we work together. You had a lot of challenges. You are a butterfly and you are creating a pathway for us. So I'm going to hand over to Nonku Mabuza. She is the general manager at Impala, currently at 16 Shaft, but she's also a pillar of strength for women in the industry.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Rina. Thank you so much. I've had such a hectic morning. I appreciate told I'm a butterfly this morning. I certainly don't always feel like one. But thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to share a bit about my life, about my journey and my story. And I really hope that it will assist anyone who's on this platform on your journey in whatever space that you might be operating in right now. So I'll just project my presentation. Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, we can.
Thanks, Nonku. Can you please put it in presentation mode? Thank you.
I'm in presentation mode. So unfortunately, I won't be able to see the chat as I present, but you can perhaps ask questions at the end if there are any. As Rina has said, my name is Nonkululeko Mabuza, better known as Nonku. I'm currently employed by Impala Rustenburg, one of the companies under the Implats Group. I am currently an appointed general manager at number 16 Shaft, which is our capital shaft on the
Morning, everyone. I don't think there's sound coming from the presentation.
Morning. She's on mute. We can just send her a message or call her. She's on mute.
Shucks, all of that on mute. I'm already on like slide 3. Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
My apologies. I don't know. Have I been on mute all along, Rina, from the beginning?
No, you were, you introduced yourself till when you are at 16 shaft, and it's part of the
Oh,
Implats
all right.
group. If you can just go back for us to that point.
All right. So Impala Rustenburg, as I was saying, is part of the, am I in presentation mode?
Not yet?
Cool.
Yes, perfect, perfect.
Thank you. Thanks, Rina. So Impala Platinum, as I said, is part of the Implats group of companies. We are based in Rustenburg, and I'm currently at number 16 shaft, which is our project shaft. So I'll take you through a very brief presentation, just a few things about myself. Starting off on obviously who am I? I am from Mpumalanga. I am one of 5, and I'm the firstborn. I've got 2 younger sisters and 2 younger brothers. So we are quite a large family. Christmas gatherings are always such a pleasure because there's many people under one roof. Challenging, but always a pleasure. I started my career on Impala as a mining graduate. And I have moved up the ranks. So we've had a relationship really since I left high school, in that I would have VAC work at the end of each year, and I would then come to the operation for a couple of weeks, then go back to school. And then eventually I graduated and started as a mining engineer in training. What's in front of you is just some pictures from different times in my life. I think worth noting is the picture on the bottom left-hand side. Those are my sisters, my pillars of strength. And I'd say the one thing that has probably gotten me this far is a very strong support base in the form of my family and very close friends, and a praying mother. I think I would not be where I am if she was not there. So I am constantly covered and flanked from that perspective. And there's just some pictures underground, some with my family, and that's in a nutshell who I am. I'll share a bit on my journey. As I said, I graduated in 2009 with the BSc in mining engineering from the University of the Witwatersrand. So very interesting enough, when I came from high school, I mean, I was a very keen student, grew up in a very strict home. So my books were non-negotiable. We were raised to study very hard and make sure that we get placement in a university. I also grew up in a family of educators, so education has always been something that is very key in my family. Funny enough, in 3rd year, I actually failed rock mechanics, which I think was probably my first time failing in school. Very difficult to accept, but I think it's good that it's, the stumbling blocks came at that time in my life, because there would obviously be many more stumbling blocks as I got into industry. So I started building, I would say, the right muscles in the right place to be able to get into the industry that I'm in and actually stay. Straight after graduation, I then started on Impala and did my initial training. So there's a training program for all graduates, obviously with the aim of giving us adequate exposure to the mining itself, the different mining occupations, technical services, and also enabling us to be able to get our licenses to mine, which at the time is what you would call a blasting certificate, also referred to in the later years as a rock breaker. So I got my rock breaker qualifications in that time. I then started, shadowing miners and, learning the ropes, and eventually was given my first crew to manage by myself. I would say in my entire career, when I first took charge of a group of people, after I got my blasting certificate and the adequate exposure to all the different departments, would be, for me, the turning point of my career. I always say to younger graduates or younger professionals who are coming up that if I look at the first two odd years in my career, they're a little bit hazy. I don't think I applied myself. There was a lot of character flaws on my end that if Nonku 13, 12 years ago worked for Nonku right now would have to let Nonku in 2010 go. I was not serious about a lot of things, but that taking charge of people and realizing the gravity of that situation was definitely a turning point. I was then in 2014 appointed as a shift supervisor, and I worked in what you would call a white area. So white area mining is we go back into our worked out areas and take out the pillars that we would have left behind. So if you've got a lot, often you are spoiled and you are quick to move to the next O block instead of proper extraction. So the section where I worked would be going back into worked out areas, re-equipping those for mining purposes. And that was a big challenge. I would say one of my growth spurts was in that period. The working places were far from each other. The mining itself was very challenging. I had to learn to surround myself with those who knew far more than me to enable me to be successful in there. But it was a good period in my life where I learned or appreciated the importance of planning, the importance of resourcing your plans, the importance of collaborating with different stakeholders for the same objective. And it was a successful time in my life. It was also my first experience, or not a personal one, but someone close to me, a friend who was also a shift supervisor at the time. He had a fatality in his section. It was a little bit close to home because, sometimes these events occur and you are a little bit removed from them. So when I was a shift boss was the first time that I was appointed in a section where there'd just been a fatality, and just that environment and those dynamics were a challenge to navigate around. In 2016, I then was appointed as a mine overseer. Interesting enough, so Section 18 at the time, one shaft, Rina, you would remember, so that used to be the flagship of Impala, doing about 11,000 tons. By the time I was appointed, we were doing about 5. So most of our own crews had moved on, and we were mining with some of our own and some contracted crews. The footprint of the operation had significantly increased, but Section 18 was still the big mine overseer section. It meant that if I was not on call, there was no way that shaft would be on call because of the targets which were set at the time. So that was also another opportunity or a time in my life, I'd say I built all the right muscles. And in learning how do you manage a production section to make sure that you produce the required targets and you do so sustainably. A very good run. I had heard in the past that in mining you make good bonuses. I'd say I really started seeing that when I became a mine overseer. I was then given an opportunity from 2018 to start relieving some mine managers as they went on leave. But I think one memorable one was me relieving a mine manager at one of the neighboring operations at 10 Shaft. And at the time, there were a lot of ER issues on the shaft. So that was a new dynamic and an opportunity for me to gather more tools for my toolbox in managing those stakeholders, so the unions and the structures on the mine on that level, because I'd only really engaged with them as a miner shift boss and a mine overseer. I then also acted as a mine manager on one shaft. So you will see from this journey of mine that I grew up really in one shaft, saw it at its peak up until at its harvesting mode when we did the change from own employees to contractors. So most of my tools I gathered at that one operation. And in 2019, I would relieve here and there. And then eventually I was appointed as the first female mine manager on Impala in 2019. I then moved from number 1 shaft into 16 shaft, where I currently am, which, like I said, is a project shaft. What that means is it is our build-up operation, where we currently are sitting at about 7,000 people, and about 4 years ago, we're sitting at about 5. So you can imagine the amount of work that has gone into getting it to current steady state where we are, and making sure that we've created an environment where we can sustain the required production levels. So I worked here for about 3 years in a build-up section. When I got here, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was sitting at about 30 odd crews. By the time I left, we'd built up that mine manager section to just over 50 stoping crews. So that was a significant increase in the number of people, activities as well, and the infrastructure in that section to get it to where it currently is. And it's now at steady state and is running. In 2023, I was then appointed as a general manager, which is also a first for females within Impala, and probably the Implats group of companies, and was then subsequently moved to manage 16 shaft, which is quite a big operation. And I'd just like to share with you just some of my highs and my lows as I've moved up in the ranks. As I said, when I was a shift supervisor, I worked in white areas. I mean, look, we did make a success of it, but the working areas were scattered. It means everything was far. I always say in mining, it's either far, too high, too low, too hot, too cold. It's too something. And that was challenging. As a mine overseer, one of my highs, I would remember the strides we made in our UG2 section, and in terms of production as well as safety. But that was also a time where I realized the extent to which one would have to engage and overcome these power struggles. So now I'm a young female coming up in the ranks, running a mine overseer sections. I've got, I need to start or learn to manage my engineer to a certain extent, the unions, as I mentioned, and also learn to manage my boss, because if you don't manage up, all that pressure comes and it sits on you. As a mine manager, so you'd see I didn't really put an arrow going down there, but it was an absolute high to see that change of one shaft from mine to contractor handover. I was part of that team that delivered that process, the relieving, and obviously my appointment as a mine manager. Key challenges, I would say, at those levels was almost access into this boys' club. So the shift bosses who were previously shift bosses when I was a miner were now all of a sudden my colleagues, and I would be the only female. That means I'm obviously I can't go into their change house where they have the change house talk at the end of shift, and are encouraging each other and are helping each other and voicing their frustrations, and maybe the older shift bosses are reaching out and helping the younger ones. I didn't have that opportunity. I was sort of in my own change house by myself. But getting into that boys club and having a voice and being listened to and being heard, that was initially a challenge. Leading men, if we have any experience about men, they don't always like being told. But I saw that in that time, it is when really experience counts, because one thing about mining, if you are inexperienced, it becomes apparent very quickly. So the years or the stripes I had earned in my time that I had put in to equip myself, it enabled me and gave me a voice in that circle. And there was almost always this expectation to fail, not in that people wish that you would fail, but it's almost like because she is a young female graduate mining in that place, it will never work. It needs an experienced mine overseer or mine manager to make it work. And I had to overcome that and prove the naysayers wrong. I always say, automatically, because of our gender in certain areas or industries, of our gender, because of my age, it's like automatically the system wants to reject me. So do everything I need to do so that they can't deny me. And that means produce and produce safely, making sure that everyone goes home every day. From sort of mine manager into general manager, especially my time at 16 Shaft, I will start with my lows. I remember FY21 was a difficult time on this operation where we had multiple loss of lives. It was almost like every 3 to 4 months we would lose an employee, and that took its toll on me. And even though these events were not necessarily in my area of responsibility, it was on the operate. It took a toll, I would say, on the leadership team of the whole operation at large. Finding my voice and my niche also in this new boys club, as as I said earlier. And this conversation around being given access, being given a chair around the table, it was difficult, and not because people would perhaps consciously do something to make you feel unwelcome, or maybe it was my own insecurities as well, but just that access onto that table was something that I had to manage and maneuver around. And work-life balance. When people talk work-life balance, sometimes I say, "What is work-life balance?" That was difficult for me, especially because I was in a build-up shaft. It meant that it needed my time at the detriment of other relationships, like my family and my friends, and so on. And that was it took its toll on me. By the time I left this operation, I would say I was exhausted on all forms. So I didn't manage my time properly there. But a definite high on the same operation. I mean, we had groundbreaking records. We referred to as the dream team. It was a team of, very diverse team, good number of females on a senior team, black, white, yellow, middle-aged, young. It was a nicely balanced team that delivered groundbreaking records in the previous financial year before we started having issues with safety. I mentioned earlier the build-up from 30 crews to 51 crews when I was here, and also achieved a safety record of 1.9. I was the first female to be appointed on the Association of Mine Managers of South Africa as a council member, and also appointed by the then Chief Executive of Implats, Mr. Mark Monroe, as one of the first members of what we call our Gender Equity Forum that looks at all issues affecting gender, to make sure that we create an environment that is enabling for all people at all times to be able to bring their A game. So that is just some of my my highs, and obviously my most recent appointment, which I feel to a certain extent I haven't really had time to celebrate, because I got appointed. It was on a Tuesday. Following day, I was on the operation and had to hit the ground running. But yeah, it's definitely something that I am grateful for, that I have an opportunity to be able to function in the level that I am currently functioning and leading. And I think, yeah, that's really me, Rina. I don't know if there are any questions from you or anyone.
For now, Nonku, we first want to thank you so much. And I must say, I am really proud of you for a lot of reasons, but to mention a few, the fact that you do acknowledge the pillars in your life And the second one is the fact that you do listen to your mother. That is great.
No, I have to.
and then also, I do see the seriousness in your career always, so that you are in charge, that you do deliver. But I'm really proud of you because you appreciate your journey and you took time to share it with the rest of us, and you remain humble. And I think that is great. So in terms of the program, I'm not going to allow questions now so that we can get our next speaker, but we do want to ask you if you can become, or will you play a bigger role in our SATCAP journey in future?
Yeah, Rina, you know where to find me if you can find me. I know it was difficult just to pin me down for this particular morning, but I am always willing to give back. I believe that if you are at a certain level, you have a responsibility to make a way for those who must come after you. So if I can do that on that platform, I am definitely willing.
Okay, so just to celebrate Nonku's achievements, if you guys don't mind, just let's send her a heart under all the reactions so that we can see how much you appreciate her. There you go. From all of us, thank you so much. Have a nice day. And if you do have time, you are welcome to join us with the next speaker. So I want to use the opportunity to also welcome our next speaker. Boitumelo will give us information, or they also refer to it as to me, about all the things that we are doing in terms of women in mining, what's the progress, and she represents the Minerals Council. So welcome to me, and we look forward to your update. Over to you.
Thank you, Rina. Thank you very much for the warm welcome, and good morning to the ladies online today. I hope everybody's having a great morning thus far, and thank you so much, Nonku, for sharing your story. It is really very, very, very inspirational, and I would also like to reach out to you, if it's okay, in my capacity as the project coordinator for the Women in Mining program at Minerals Council. Please confirm if my slide is showing.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much. I will try and rush through my presentations. I've got a lot to say this morning, especially considering the gravity of what we are talking about. I think we've all gleaned from Nonku's presentation how important it is that we all work together as women, and also as with men being our allies, to create an enabling environment for women to reach their full potential in the mining industry, and also to thrive in their careers and move up within the mining industry. Pardon me, there's something. So I just want to briefly talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion and its importance. I will just touch on a few things. It is a well-researched fact, locally and globally, that organizations that prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion are prone to be more financially successful than those that don't. Greater diversity does lead to financial growth. It leads to increases in innovation. It leads to diverse bank of solutions for problem solving. And we also know that retention is higher in cultures that are diverse and equitable. And it is also important for the attraction of employees who are engaged and who are also more productive. However, given this fact, we still have a long way to go to reach parity that we look forward to. According to the World Economic Forum Gender Gap Report of 2022, on the current trajectory, it will take us 132 years to close the gender gap. So this is a very alarming statistic, And this World Economic Forum Gender Gap Report, it looks at the themes that are taken from key dimensions that look at economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, as well as political empowerment. It is the longest standing index, which tracks progress of 142 countries over time. So these are very stark statistics that show us that though in our pockets we may be making great strides, but on the whole, there is still a long journey to go in order for us to reach the parity that we seek. A robust legal framework, it has been found, is an impetus for change. When you've got a progressive and robust legal framework, it is a catalyst for policies that in turn lead to actions that create the environments that you are seeking to attain. And this is so in South Africa. In South Africa is one of the few countries regionally that has a robust legal framework that does cater for diversity, that does cater for the elimination of discrimination. And so we've got a robust laws that guarantee equality and parity while also seeking to eliminate all forms of discrimination in the world of work. I will not go into all the pieces of legislation, but I have put some up that show that we do have a legal framework that does absolutely champion our cause for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And diving a little bit deeper into the South African mining industry, our industry does also mirror an unfavorable global gender equality trend, as has been seen in the statistics that I shared previously. And looking at the mining sector, we do have the potential to significantly influence and be a catalyst for transformation and gender equality through focused actions and policies. Our workforce within the mining sector currently stands at approximately 450,000, and 72,000 of that workforce is made up of women. So we are at 15%. There is definitely room for growth. And this growth can be achieved through social programs in communities that are outside of core mining, through social labor plans. The mining industry does have a vast network of influence through the service providers and the supply chain. And also internally with our employees and the policies that are put in place following on from the legal framework that is in place within South Africa. What we have also noted is that there is room for tapping into the great pipeline that we have in our in academia, as more females than males currently attend both public and private institutions. And this is from a period of 2011 to 2019. And also the number of male students graduating currently are 20% higher than the number of male students graduating with science, education, technology, and humanities qualifications. So this basically says to us that there is a deep pipeline of women that we can tap into and bring forward into the mining industry. However, when we look at the picture or the demographics of the mining industry, it does beg the question of what is it that is not happening, or what do we need to focus on to ensure that the pipeline does translate into the workforce as we see it in the mining industry. I'll just also share a few statistics. Currently in mining, women only make up the top 20% of top management. They make up 21% of senior management, 26.3% of professionally qualified personnel, and only 19.6% of skilled technical professionals. And I think we can just think back on Nonku's presentation about her experience being in the mining sector and being for some time the only woman that is leading or the only woman in management positions. So we really have our work cut out for us. The Minerals Council in 2020 produced a white paper that looked at the challenges that women face, the challenges that impede women from progressing in the workplace and fully participating in mining, and also the contributors to the high attrition rate of women within the mining sector. As said, our universities are filled with women that are studying towards mining qualifications, the various mining qualifications, but those numbers that we see in universities and higher education does not translate to the reality that we see in the workplace. And so I've just put up some of the challenges that we highlighted and as a strategy from the Minerals Council are looking to address in a consolidated manner with our member companies. Some of these challenges being physical facilities, the availability of childcare facilities, safety and security in the sense of gendered PPE, and also the prevalence of gender-based violence and harassment in the workplace. Gender pay gap is also a challenge that affects women, as well as the male-dominated culture and gender stereotypes that are enforced by unconscious bias. And we see, the attitudes that some of them being cultural, some of them are just historically because of the fact that mining has always been a male-dominated industry. And so from these challenges, the Minerals Council devised a strategy to address these using a framework of what we call foundational measures. Through these foundational measures, we aim to enact policies, to implement initiatives and actions that address the challenges that women faced according to the 7 foundational measures and their groupings. And so we work with what we call the Women in Mining Task Team, and the task teams are made up of representatives from our different member companies, and they focus on initiatives and actions and policies as they are encapsulated in the different foundational measures. So I'll just mention a few. For us, reaffirming zero tolerance for GBV and harassment is a key priority. Ensuring that there are gender diversity and inclusion policies in place that are industry-wide, that evolve over time depending on international and local legislation and codes of practice. So we do a lot of work around developing those policies and ensuring that they are socialized amongst our member companies. We also look at unconscious bias, tackling unconscious bias, because these biases present themselves quite starkly in the workplace, especially in a male-dominated environment such as the mining industry. And these have real impacts on women's careers in mining, their career growth, as well as their career progression. But then we also focus on the supply of gendered PPE, so PPE that is designed specifically and scientifically with women in mind, because this is also a very important priority for us. And all of these initiatives that we put in place, we note that it is also important that we collect data. We collect data to get a view of the current status of the mining industry. We collect data to also check how we are tracking in terms of our stretch targets that we've placed for ourselves, and to ensure that whatever policies we put in place, they are data-driven and we get key and specific insights into the current state of affairs that will drive our transformation agenda forward.
Tumi, if I can maybe stop you there to first reflect on the wonderful things that you've shared with us. And we really want to have more time with you. But what I did here that I appreciate about you is the fact that you do acknowledge men still, because we work together, that you advocate for women. I really appreciate your factual approach. And by looking at the work that you are doing, we really know that we are in good hands. So for the sake of time, we're going to ask you, if you don't mind, to please share the presentation with us. And if there's any questions that the participants leave it for us in the chat room so that we can leverage from your strength. Just let us all give a positive reaction to Tumi, and you can choose. I'm definitely going for another heart for her.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Rena.
much.
I'll share the presentation. Thank you.
I appreciate. We're pushing to really give a platform to all our participants, and the unions is really important for us. It gives people in industry a voice, and it also encourages honest conversation. So I want to introduce you to our union representatives from Solidarity. We'll listen to Melanie Roy. Thank you, Melanie, and we look forward to your engagement.
Morning, Hanley. Thank you so much. It's Melanie from NUMSA. And I just want to greet all of the 77 participants on the call this morning. I just want to share the thematic area of my theme in terms of a labor perspective on women empowerment and women in mining, as per the theme in the Nelson Mandela precinct. And the thematic area of my discussion, my very quick discussion, would be diversity, equity, inclusion, which has been mentioned by my previous colleague Tumi in her presentation as well. So colleagues, today, from a labor perspective, we were asked to give our message of support, but at the same time, we need to support each other in achieving these 5 points that I've just articulated in this presentation. So I'll just get straight to it. I'm mindful of time. So the first point that we've mentioned is evolving the gender gaps within the global labor market. And I think that looking at addressing what the various obstacles in the mining industry and that women specifically have to contend with, it's important to look at how women have been treated historically in a historically male-dominated male industry. And I think the previous speaker has also mentioned that approximately, the mining industry has 72,000 women, and therefore there is a huge need to address the gender gaps within the labor market, not just from a local perspective, but also from a global perspective. And therefore we need to get gender transformation and equality, and to consider female workforce within the mining industry. The second point that I want to go to is workforce representation across industries. So when we look at industries and women participation, our view as labor is not just to look at it from a specific sector, because what we've seen is that jobs are evolving along the value chain, and therefore, a sector approach might not necessarily be the way for the future. And as we're looking for the future, these are the considerations that we need to have, which is that we need to have impactful policies in terms of transforming the industries and addressing the current socioeconomic challenges such as inequality, unemployment, and poverty. And it's important for employers to do sort of workplace capacity assessments that identify what the work abilities and capabilities are for women, but most importantly, to identify what the limitations are in relation to a specific work demand and addressing that as such, because we want women to be active participants in their jobs, irrespective of their gender. They should be active participants without any limitations. And the third point that I want to go to is addressing gender gaps in the skills of the future. I think very, very important is that these challenges be included in terms of looking at our South African, context. There isn't very much access to education to pursue a certain career path, for example, within the mining industry, holistically. And we need to look at what the various systematic and cultural challenges are, be able to address that. We need to look at what the distribution of resources are in terms of equity, and making these accesses and resources available, especially to the youth, for example, having a resource center within communities that the youth and women in particular, the marginalized communities, can actually have access to in order to use and look at what online courses, simulation videos, etc., especially with regards to the modern mines that we're seeing now. And the fourth point I want to get to is the gender gaps in participation of women in labor markets of the future. And that's why this point is very important, colleagues, because we're looking at mining modernization. And these are labor markets of the future. And it's very important for us to note that we need to look at what career management of women in mining and localization would be. And that would be looking at what empowering women in women-owned businesses, entrepreneurship programs, increase education, whether it be skilling, reskilling, upskilling, and not just within the mining industry, but we want people to be economically active in other industries and sectors of the economy, so that if a specific job is no longer there, they can continue to be able to contribute to the economy and still have job sustainability. And it's important for us to look at what the annual procurement of mining would be, especially for Black and African women and women-based companies, and actually take that forward at a community level. It's also quite important to look at what the healthcare facilities for women on site would actually be, to allow them for a healthy and active participation within the labor market, because often you find that women cannot participate as actively as men because they do not have the resources available for them to be actively participants as opposed to their male counterparts, and that those challenges should be addressed. And then lastly, colleagues, my point 5 would be the representation of women in senior leadership. Tumi has mentioned earlier that there's a 21% only of women in leadership. And I think that it's important for us to understand that we need to implement our social and labor plans. And it's important to look at how women can actually remain sort of in job retention. But I think the pertinent point that I want to make is that we need women in decision-making platforms such as boards, where women's opinions can actually be put forward, as opposed to having the minority, but having decision-making powers in order to implement these strategies. And I think that's what we need to be able to do. And that's why I've put the picture of my presentation of a lithosphere, is because I want us to actually go deep down into the surface of what the core challenges are facing women, and being able to address those challenges. And then ultimately, colleagues, I just want to say that we want to be putting gender parity at the heart of economic recovery and transformation. And I want to end with this quote, and I have to say it quickly, even though I'm pressed with time, because it's called a gracious quote. And it actually says that a feminist is anyone who recognizes the equality and full humanity of women and men. And that's why we need men to come on board to be able to push this agenda. So we want equality, and we want everyone to be a feminist, not just certain people to be a feminist, but it is a humanity approach towards feminism and advancing the interests of women in labor, women in communities, and women in all sectors of the communities. So with that, colleagues, thank you so much. I wish I had more time, but I thank you so much, and I hope my input has made meaningful impacts. Thank you.
Melanie from NUMSA, thank you so much. Yes, you already made an impact, and I really want to acknowledge your strength in terms of being strategic, focusing on the SA skills deficit. And thank you that we can listen to your voice and that you do advocate for women. So over then to Hanli from Solidarity. We look forward to your input.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I want to talk to you about the skills shortage in the mining industry, and I'm trying to upload my PowerPoint unless the organizers is able to do so. I see there is something on the screen, but it's not my presentation.
And I think if I can assist, when you share, I think you're sharing your full screen. So rather close there where you are. And then when you share, you will have to share only the window.
Yeah, I'm not sharing at the moment. Someone else is sharing, so I'm not sure. I'll in the meantime, I've sent the presentation, but I can
Hanli,
try.
sorry, yes, that was me. Sorry, Gremlin. Can you please share, or do you want me to share it? Apologies.
If you can share, I'll appreciate it.
Okay, great. I'll do that
Please.
now.
Thank
Is
you
that right? Have we got it now?
Not yet.
Okay, cool.
I thought I'm going into a coaching session with you, Hanli, in terms of Microsoft Teams and all of that. So
there you are. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you very much. You can go to the next slide, please.
Terry, you can go into slideshow maybe?
Yeah, it's weird. Okay.
Okay.
Are we on slide 4 or?
Slide 2, please. Slide 2.
Okay, great.
Okay. A lot of people, speakers before me, have indicated their journey in the mining industry. We in South Africa have an unemployment rate that is an epidemic high level. Yet we have a skills shortage in the mining industry. I would like to show you the figures that the MQA, the Mining Qualifications Authority, through research find in 2019. Please go to the next page.
Chapter 3.
Yes, slide 3.
I don't know if you can see it, but I have actually scrolled.
Okay, it's not showing.
Tiro, at this stage, you're not on slide mode. So we see the slides on the side as well. So we're now on page on number 4. You can just go one back.
Okay. I've got too many things open. Apologies, people.
I'll talk in the meantime.
Yes, please do.
There are a number of occupations in the mining industry that's hard to fill. And these figures are positions that have been vacant for more than 12 months. The MQA find that that with research, and it is positions like mine managers, production managers, engineering managers, mechanical engineers, mining engineers, occupational hygienists, mine overseers, diesel mechanics, fitters and turners, and auto electricians. Now, they find that the reasons for those positions not to be filled is a lack of relevant qualifications or relevant experience. Equity considerations play a role, and especially at occupational hygiene level, there's an absolute lack of skilled people. Now, if one go further down on slide 5, it's the breakdown goes further to say shift supervisors, engineering foremen, shift foremen, mining operations supervisors, production supervisors.
Apologies, Tira, can you please move down one slide? We're not seeing what is being spoken to.
Okay, so
slide 5.
It starts with table 3.2.
Table 3.2, yeah.
Okay.
And the one specific skills gap that is evident nearly in all of those is the leadership, supervisors and leadership. Skills that can be developed. Please go to slide 6 if you can. It specifically says that the next slide, please.
I've scrolled. It's the diesel mechanic features.
No, we're not seeing what you're seeing, Tira. You're still on
Okay.
slide 4 with us.
Okay,
so-
there you are. Thank you. Thank you. Leadership is one of the skills, in my view, that women in particular can develop. If you go to the next slide, it talks to that as well. Go to slide 8, where it starts with women have to make use of the existing opportunities. Now, leadership, I believe, can be developed if you do not have it through your own natural abilities, but it can be developed through mentorship. We as women have a voice. We've heard that from the beginning of this morning. We should talk, but we should do it in a manner that shows our leadership, mentor our colleagues, and very importantly, be mentored. One is never too old to learn. You are never too old to go and have a look at what the industry needs and how you as a person can fit in there, how you as a woman can fit in there. You have to take up your natural leadership as a woman. And you don't need to be a manager to do that. You have to be open, and you have to voice your needs. The MMP have opportunities for women, especially to voice their needs. Through your unions, those of you that are members of unions, you can propose topics for research purposes to have an enabling workplace that welcomes women. Please go to my last slide. Being a leader requires from you to raise those topics, but also difficult topics. One which we don't want to talk about, but gender-based violence is the burden that many women suffer from in the workplace, but also in the domestic setting. We are now in the second part of the year, and the festive season is around the corner. There are women who live in fear, and especially during festive seasons, there is no feast for them. Please have a look out, take that leadership and have a look out for other women in your environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Hanlie. You're not just an advocate for women, you're also a real advocate. So thank you for encouraging us again, and also tell us, do not go silent, because that only leads to violence. To you and Melanie from NUMSA, we are really appreciative of the unions being part of this pack. Thanks so much. With this, I'm handing over to Nadia. Nadia is leading the digitization journey in Vedanta. So we look forward to a bit of tech talk now. Thanks so much.
Great. Good morning, Rina, and all the phenomenal ladies in the call this morning. And I hope if there's gentlemen in the call as well. Good morning to you all. I just want to confirm, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we good.
Yes, we can.
All right. So I started my journey as a Telecom Namibia bursary student, and I landed into a position upon my completion as business systems analyst. Working in different departments within the overall technical division, that be the IT infrastructure side, the billing side, mediation systems, and then of course also the business systems where the financial system or the ERP system, which was SAP at the time, was managed. I stayed at the company for the 5 years. Of course, if you're a bursary holder, you obtain as much exposure as you can, and you have a little bit of a, let's say, an advantage of a free pass to explore and to learn as much as you can. I then relocated to South Africa as a SAP consultant, performing system implementations within the retail sector. I then returned back to Namibia and I joined the second mobile operator, working alongside Nokia Siemens network within a startup company where you have almost nothing. You have to put everything in place, processes, you have to get the people aligned, and then you have to actually implement the system. So basically from scoping, sourcing, and then stabilizing the systems. After that, I moved to Altavern List, which is a company in Namibia consisting of about 12 companies under the ONL group, ranging from Namibia breweries, fisheries, dairies. They've got a portfolio of retail, property division, leisure, hotel, and lodges. And within that diverse group of companies, we could deploy and develop solutions to cater for the business needs. Very exciting time of my career. Learned a lot working in such a diverse company, applying skills and trying to be creative in letting systems be the enabling factor for efficient processes. I then relocated again, and this time around to south of Namibia as the IM, Information Management or IT Manager for Scorpion Zinc, which is the mining operations of Vedanta. worked there, and within 2 years, I was promoted to head of IT for the Southern Africa within the Vedanta Zinc International unit. And I worked with resources, and I'm still working with resources across Namibia, South Africa, India, and Australia. Our data center sits in India, and yeah, we've got the support base across the countries as mentioned. I then further transitioned into other roles as head of innovation and solution delivery, and where I'm currently the chief digital officer. So I've learned a lot across the 2 decades as I was exploring and functioning in different organizations. I was really fortunate enough to have good male leaders from very early on in my career. And unfortunately, at that point in time, from 22 onwards, 27 to COVID period, your major leaders or your major people you look up to was male. So people that stood out for me was, of course, my general manager from Scorpion Zinc, Evan Samata. He's also my mentor, a very young and transformative leader. He's very progressive when it comes to digitalizing, where he's currently vice president at one of the second largest uranium mines in Namibia. And then in terms of our ex-Vedanta Zinc International CEO, Deshni Naidu, I learned quite a lot from her. I built a lot of resilience working with her and for her. She was instrumental in driving gender diversity and opening the door to the boardroom for people like myself, which were at the time EXCO invitees. So I think the exposure that I obtained was the tough conversations that had to be that you had to actually do with your people. And at that point in time, working at Scorpion, when I started my journey at Scorpion, it was literally, I went in there knowing that Scorpion had a life of mine of 2 years. So with a life of mine of 2 years, you literally needed to keep the mine running. You needed to keep the IT infrastructure running. You don't have capital. You don't have funding. You had to do what you could with what you had. And most importantly, we had to keep the team motivated. You had to protect the people because you are in a VUCA, you are in an uncertain time. But the business needed to continue to put the MIC on the table, put the salary month end for the people so that they can at least continue with their normal lives. So that was very, very tough times at Scorpion, and that was just pre-COVID. And during the COVID time, we went into care and maintenance. So we are working very hard to see if we can get Scorpion out of care and maintenance and to start it up again. Personal strength, yes, I would say in my journey, I grew up with a father that told me in Afrikaans, daar is nie 'n ding soos jy kan nie. There's no such thing as you can't. So I had to do almost anything myself. So I have a will to find a solution. I'm grateful that very early on, I set myself up to obtain as much exposure across companies, industries, to build my knowledge base. And I honestly believe if you put yourself through voluntary discomfort, that is what makes you stronger. If you think of how does a crab grow, it needs to shed that shell. It needs to be vulnerable for a period of time to protect itself, to grow a new shell. Most important life lesson for me, be true to yourself. Be humble and build relationships as much as you can. You'll be surprised how far that will get you. And honestly, I live my day by serving. Advice to a younger version of myself, do what you do with passion. Learn as much as you can. Fail as much as you need to, and very early in your career. And then at least learn from it. Remove the negative emotions from failure. Accept you failed, take it as a learning and move on. And find a mentor. Thank you, Rina.
Nadia, I've seen you in action. I've seen how you speak the tech language. How do you you have men that's hanging on to your lips in terms of what you do. So I think it's difficult to showcase to the rest of the ladies what you are doing. And I think we need to create another opportunity for you to also show more on the tech side. So we really appreciate your time and we value your contribution. The next session, we are going over to a panel format. So for now, I want you to just breathe for a moment because we've been focusing on all the speakers. So the panel will be relaxing. We will have 3 presenters, and after that, we'll have time for question and answer. So we're going to allow and welcome Maria Kombrink. She's the Deputy Chair of the Women in Mining South Africa. So over to you, Maria.
Thank you. Tira, are you going to share?
Would you like me to share?
Are you?
I hope I don't have any glitches.
Let's see how it goes.
Let's see, and then I can pick it up. Yes, yeah.
Okay, so it's just a quick background of WIMSA and then over to the other speakers, eh?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. So give us a shout when you're...
We're putting Tara today under pressure.
Let's see, Tira, shout when you're ready.
Yep. WIMSA, great. Yeah, you have about 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's ample.
Okay,
I just need you just need to pop it up on the screen for us.
Okay, we'll do that.
Maria, while we wait for the presentation, are you based in Joburg?
I am based in Joburg. So what I can, so I'm based in Joburg and I'm currently the Deputy Chair for Women in Mining South Africa.
Yes.
We're an organization that's 12 years old. We're mainly situated in Johannesburg. However, we do have some partnerships with outlying areas as well. See you there. There we go, Tira.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yippee!
Okay. So as I said, I am Maria. And we're a voluntary-led NPO organization. So everybody that's part of our committee actually does this on a voluntary basis in their own free time. So Thierry, you can skip to the next one. Okay, so whoopsies. Okay. So WIMSA provides a platform that supports and guides women's personal growth, leadership and career development in the South African mining industry. Where we've been established in 2010 and we're completely independent and we exist completely based on independent sponsorships. And as you can see here, our purpose is to inspire women to actively build a better world through mining. And we do this by enabling women in the industry through network stakeholder collaboration and mentorship. And we have values that we hold very dear to our hearts, which is we do this with integrity, caring, commitment, collaboration, and we also make sure that we do have some fun along the way. Next one, please, Tira. You're skipping. There we go. Thank you. So just a quick overview of when you join WIMSA, what you can expect from us. So we do networking events. And as I said, we're going to focus a bit on our mentorship portfolio. And we like to connect people and have stimulating conversations via our social media channels, as well as tech talks that we have on a regular basis, where we actually raise technical points and have open discussions that's very pertinent to the current state of the mining industry. We have thought leadership platforms available. We have partnerships with the South African Institute of Mining and Metals, the Minerals Council, and other international women's organizations as well. We do outreach work in terms of career days and inspiring learners to actually look towards mining and the mining industry as careers, and helping them to also look at STEM subjects. And as part of this, we have special projects, which one is a career booklet where we actually interview and showcase different members of our WIMSA organization. And what we then have is like we show what a day in the life of a person in a specific role in mining is like. So if we go over to mentorship, the next slide. So yeah, you can go to that one that you just skipped to. Yes. So why is mentorship important? And I just love this quote, because none of us is as smart as all of us. And this forms the basis of why you would want a mentor. Thank you, Tira. So our current mentorship program is aimed at women in the early to mid-career. We kicked off in 2021, and we do this in partnership with Bryony Lieber Coaching. And we kicked it off in 2021, and we had 40 young mentees coming in, and we then only had mentorship Mondays. In 2022, the program consisted of 34 mentees. So at the end of the year, you can keep an eye open on our website, and we will have a call out for you to apply. Just a side note, should you not have funds available, don't let that stop you, because we do have sponsorships and scholarships available. So apply. And then this year we have 42 active mentees currently. And basically, if you go to the next slide, please. What this entails is we have a closed virtual session. So that would just be within the mentee group. And then we have a monthly open virtual session, which you will also find an invite to on our website, where we open up the mentorship program for one evening on a Tuesday, and we have a discussion specifically aimed at different parts of your career growth journey. So looking at perhaps taking ownership of your own skills development, or looking at having a CEO mindset when it comes to your career. Then we also help you to look at your core competencies, and also how to really navigate your inner critic, that voice that might say to you, but you're not good enough. We help you to put all of those inner critic voices that you might have into perspective, and use it to actually grow your career. We are also now looking towards a mentorship program for mid to later career professionals. So you can keep an eye on the website, or if you're interested, you can also connect with us via the website. Then, yes, I just would like to take this a moment to thank our sponsors and our partners, because without them, we cannot do the work that we do with the women in mining. And then, Tara, if you can skip to the last slide, please go to our website if you're interested in joining or finding out more about what we do, or how you can assist, or how we can assist you to maybe connect with a mentor. If you have somebody in mind, you can find us at wimsa.org.za. where you can also put your hand up to become a member. And then I just want to leave you with this thought: be bold, be brave, and be you. Thank you.
Maria, thanks so much. And I do want to reinforce your request to say the people that's on the call, if you have the skills to be a mentor, offer your support. And if you need support, you know where to find it. Thank you, Maria. And we hand over to Nicole. She is the CEO of MLabs. Over to you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity to present about MLab and the work we're doing in really skilling up our youth to prepare them for the fourth industrial revolution, Just going to quickly share my slides. Can just confirm that you are seeing that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Great. Thank you so much. So MLab is a non-profit organization. We based at the Innovation Hub in Pretoria, and we receive majority of our support from the Department of Science and Innovation. And MLab is really a tech-centered business aiming to help build this digitally empowered tomorrow. We believe that when youth are empowered with the right skills, resources, tools, support like mentorship, etc., that was just spoken about earlier, they really can change their futures for the better. We have 4 key programs that we run that focuses on accelerating tech ecosystems. And I think something that has come out for me, particularly in listening to some of the speakers this morning, is that we really have to form an ecosystem around ensuring that women progress, in particular that we're talking today in the mining sector, because we all bring such different perspectives to the party. We all bring different skill sets and resources. And the more we align and work together, I believe that we can actually amplify impact. We focus on building digital skills, particularly amongst unemployed youth and graduates. We also focus on the startup and small business development space, and then also building tech solutions for entities that actually want to be able to afford building technology and using technology in their businesses. So fairly quickly, I think we're also familiar with some of the major challenges affecting our country currently. Youth unemployment is extremely high. In fact, it's now 2 in every 3 young people are unemployed. I was also quite interested in seeing some of those skills gaps that were presented earlier. What we're finding is that there are a number of graduates, yet industry is saying that there are certain jobs in very high demand, and but there's obviously this mismatch between the skills produced and what industry is demanding. We know that small businesses are really the key to creating new jobs and growing the economy, and yet early stage entrepreneurs really struggle with securing support that can get them onto their next phase of development. And also accessing technology development services is actually quite expensive. So just quickly to, I suppose, focus on the Northern Cape, because MLab does have an office there. We know that it's one of the largest provinces in South Africa. We know that mining and agriculture are really primary economic sectors, the largest contributor to the GDP in the Northern Cape. And yet we're still seeing that, unemployment is so high. Also, on my slides show that females are recorded as having a higher unemployment rate than males. So I suppose it begs the question that if mining is such a big driver of the economy there, unemployment is still so high, how do we actually create opportunities for youth in particular to be absorbed into the space? Really, our belief is that the whole 4th industrial revolution can help us play a role to reduce the unemployment rate. So if we just think of, mining and this new era, we talk about digital transformation, etc. Saw this in a PwC report that said, some of the strongest requirements still is this hunt for talent. And I think because mines are moving into digitization, into clean technology, etc., we have to look at what are the new skill sets that are also needed. we know that there's a lot of possibilities that technology and data can bring, adding, really identifying where are the value drivers within the mining, within a mine, how to drive up profitability, increase efficiency and productivity, help with decision making. The strong focus on being environmentally, socially, and even from a governance perspective, responsible. So with these drivers in mind, we got to see that we got to think about an expanding role for women. We got to think a little bit out the box, and for young people in particular, they're attracted to social media, they're attracted to technology, they're attracted to sexy stuff, and for me, I always think of what's going to make a particular sector sexy, especially when some of the perceptions might be a little bit negative. Is it unsafe? It's probably, not wanting to get one's hands dirty, etc. But I think mining has a whole possibility to offer. So just by way of example, in the Northern Cape in particular, we run a coding academy, we run a short Internet of Things program earlier this year, and there's about 30 to 40% of our cohorts that are actually women. And so women who are interested in improving their technology skills, learning about the Internet of Things. And we know that this particular technology is one that's very lucrative in the mining space. And mining can be seen as so much more. It's a lot of emphasis on clean energy, on the circular economy, digitization and data analytics. And so when we also think about careers, I heard Nadia also speaking earlier, we got to think of careers as journeys. I might not start off my career as a mining engineer or a chemical engineer. Maybe I start off my career in something like health and safety or community engagement. But how do I move and transition into the sector and find a whole new opportunity that I wouldn't originally have thought about? And so as MLab, just to give you a short idea of our ecosystem acceleration programs, we tried to create awareness about ICT, improve digital literacy amongst the youth, and also work with schools, I think starting very early on, as early as, early childhood development, working with technology, playing with robotics and coding is really what's starting to help introduce people into new career choices. Our Coding Academy really looks at how do we take ICT graduates, but help them really gain some workplace experience. They work in teams, they get the opportunity to build web solutions, mobile, Android, iOS apps, learn a bit of project management, Scrum Agile methodology. And so, I'm really looking to engage, I think, with the mining sector, WUMSA, all these organizations that are present here today to see how can we actually start introducing the women that we support through our programs to opportunities in the mining sector. I think we found it quite difficult to get into that space. We find it much easier to start engaging with agriculture and tourism. And so I really welcome the opportunity to start and pilot new initiatives that can see graduates from our program actually move into the sector. We also run a startup accelerator where our young entrepreneurs gain access to a mentor, seed funding, tech development support. Really, we help them build their business case and minimal viable product so that they can actually pass due diligence requirements for other incubation programs, etc. And then lastly, just to mention, I think, we've had a number of female success stories in our accelerator, but one more recent one is MedSol AI Solutions. Our entrepreneur here, Catherine, actually developed an AI, artificial intelligence solution for detecting breast cancer. And during our engagement, we said there must be other applications. And she was then introduced into Minds, where her solution is now actually also being explored around detecting for TB, for instance. And so here's an example of where one is working in a space, but if you just transition into being aware and open about opportunities in mining, I think there's definitely many transitions there. Of course, as MLab, we're always looking to also secure mentors, work with industry partners who want to provide challenges that our students can work on, or sponsor different programs. And so we're really open to, like I said, working in this ecosystem where we can make a contribution to the sector. Thank you.
Nikki, thank you so much. If I look back at what Maria shared with us and what you share with us from MLab, it means that nobody needs to be alone. There's, in this ecosystem, a lot of caring and competence. So let's hand over to Carol that will share with us about the offerings in the Digital Skills Academy. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Rina, and good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear and see me well. I'm going to try and share from...
Perfect.
All right, thank you. I'm going to try and share from this end. Hopefully there won't be any glitches there. I don't know if you can see my slide currently.
Yeah, you're not on slide mode, but being from a tech company, I think you will be better than me.
Yeah. No, I've put it on slide mode. But thank you, Rina, for inviting me and your team. I think I always say yes to such auspicious events that particularly are pertinent to the empowerment of women. So I'm very happy to be here. And I think the previous speakers have all laid quite a wonderful, foundation for me to speak about what we do at Tshimologong. By the name is Carol, by the way, my name is Carol Chaji, and I am the Digital Skills Manager at an organization called Tshimologong. And as you can see from our logo there, we are 100% owned by the university. So I always call ourselves the cool kids of the university, or the more agile kids of the university. So today I'm going to just introduce who Tshimologong is, what we do, and how this is related to everything that we're talking about today. So I am recently actually somebody called me a serial technologist. And at some point I was like, that doesn't sound like me. But when I sat down and had a conversation with myself, I realized I am. I have embedded myself in quite a lot of technologies, from cybersecurity to IoT to AI to software development, everything. And because of that, I am in a role where I am overseeing the management of digital skills. And when I think Nikki was speaking, she was actually mirroring us. And I'm like, oh, this is why collaboration is important. And we've worked with MLab for some projects as well. So we do almost similar things. We are, as Tshimologong, looking at developing digital entrepreneurs. And really our main objective is to create what we've dubbed world-leading African digital entrepreneurs. In simple terms, what we're saying is we're looking locally for talent, and we know it's there for people who are unskilled, for people who are not aware of the opportunities that we offer. And then we offer them these frontier technology skills, and then we offer it to such impact that they'll be able also to embed themselves very nicely into the international communities. So that's what we're trying to do here. And we do that across different sectors or sections of our organization. And that's research, that's digital skills development, which I'm going to talk more about, entrepreneurship as well, which is actually at the heart of who we are, and then development and facilities and access to markets, because we think it's very important to go back to basics. What are we training for? What are we skilling people for? Why are we developing entrepreneurs? And it all goes back to access to markets and creating a better economy. This is how we define digital innovation. So if you hear about Tshimolohong is very well placed, and this was very intentional in Braamfontein, in central Braamfontein, where it's a buzz with students, with academics, with businesses as well. So because of that, our founder, Prof. Berry, who, by the way, passed away a few weeks ago, was actually going around, the world looking at how best, he could come back home and impact, especially the digital space. And what was interesting is he kept seeing these digital incubation hubs popping up in Asia, in America, in Europe. And he was like, how about we have one such of an incubation digital hub in Johannesburg, especially. So he decided to do it through the university. And this is how we have defined who we are as a digital innovation hub. As mentioned, at the center of everything that we do is entrepreneurship. Many a times we get young people who walk through our doors and they say they are looking for opportunities. We find it very difficult to turn them away, but we want to hear their story. We want to know what opportunity they're looking for. Half the time, these young people tell you I have a great idea that no one else has tried, or I am trying to innovate an idea that is in existence already, but I don't have the resources to be able to do this. So when they come in, we say, okay, let's see what we can help you with. So from a digital point of view, if you are creating a product that requires you to know certain digital skills, this is where we come in through the software department, where we say, listen, we're going to teach you all things web development, web design, cybersecurity, AI, ML, IoT, cloud computing, network engineering even. And then we'll have a section on hardware. Every time people walk into the space, they start seeing robotic arms or robots or things that have been created through IoT, and they don't know what all this jargon is all about. So instead of us explaining who IoT is or what IoT is and what robotics is, we take them to our makerspace, which is the hardware-based part of the organization, and we say, this is what AI is. In fact, we've had a couple of sessions where we have with young children during holidays that come to actually make robots. And what we tell them is, we're not going to teach you the theoretical aspects of robotics. We're going to start making something. And after making it, we're just going to start now having almost like storytelling after the fact and telling them what we just built is a robot. The concept that you used is called this. The application that you use is called that, so that it's relatable to them. And that's what tech should be. And finally, we have the content where we find our animation academy. So we have an animation academy, which is fantastic. We offer internship programs there. So very enthusiastic and passionate young people who are very well versed in graphic design, and well, it's innate in them. They come through, we offer them this animation, and then they go on and either start their own businesses, their own studios, or they get hired by people who would love, to have 2D animators and stuff. The interesting story about that animation academy is we've had always 100% placement for all our learners, which is quite fantastic. The Digital Skills Academy at Tshimolohong looks at pockets of what you see here. So that's software. So we're looking at software development. There was one time I was going through a report about software developers, particularly women that had been hired. It was a report, I think it was called the Software Developer Nation or something like that. This was in 2021. This report stated that 83% of male were hired in that year in the software development space as software developers. Only 14% were women, and the rest were other gender parities. That obviously is worrying because there is something not happening right there. And I think this is why all of us are here advocating that women still need to take space where they need to take space. And through our skills development programs, we find that to be very helpful to have programs that not only empower women, but also, skill them and inevitably put them in the place that they want to play. So essentially, we train for impact. Again, in the Digital Skills Academy, we've had about 100%. This year or last year, we had about 94.4% placement for all our software development interns. 60% of them were women, and they were placed at very nice organizations like BMW and EY respectively. So we know we are doing something right. And, this is where the essence of collaboration happens with everybody also here. We also have a gaming incubation hub. We do networks, animation testing, and we have an app factory. This program I'm very proud of.
Al uit jou bed uit.
Sorry?
Sorry, pardon.
Okay. So this program I'm very proud of. We partnered with Samsung to offer what we call the Samsung App Factory, where we take in fantastic interns who come in and do software development. This is the program that has yielded for the past 3 years 100% placement, and last year 94.4% placement. Also, I am very, very passionate about a program that we offered in the deepest depth of the rural areas of Moletlane in Limpopo. We always talk about how we want to skill people in boardrooms, and we always tick these reports, oh, KPIs are doing great and stuff. But more often than not, we forget the issues on the ground. We forget about young people who need these skills. Sometimes I think that the issues and the challenges that we're having and the dire statistics that we are having are top about people not being employed, women not getting where they need to be going, starts because we haven't addressed the root of the problem. And the root of the problem for me is going back to basics. The adage, catch them young, for me speaks very highly of what we need to do and where we need to go. Just going into the schools. We went to 5 schools in Moletlane. We met these 100 young people who we wanted to train in digital skills. Before the program started, I just started having a conversation with 2 of the people there, 1 young lady, 1 young man. And I was just asking them a simple question. What do you want to be when you grow up? They were matriculants, by the way. So by now you must have a feeling of, oh, when I'm done with matric, this is what I'm going to do. The young man very enthusiastically and excitedly says to me, Auntie, when you came in, did you see a car wash right by the turn there? I'm like, yes, I did. And then he says, well, the uncle there has offered me a job. I don't know what's going to happen to my schoolmates, but I already have a job. I'm going to be working at a car wash. That broke my heart, almost got into tears hearing this young man saying this, because I could see that he doesn't have information. He is not aware that there are way other opportunities for him. He is a fantastic young man who can be something more than just a car wash attendant or assistant. The young lady also said to me, well, my cousin is in Johannesburg. She's the epitome of our success in our family, and she's working at a call center. So that's exactly where I want to be. I cannot wait to do that. So what that said to me as a digital skills practitioner was, we are not doing enough, because it always comes back to us. We need to be accountable for these young ones. All we need is to sit down and talk to them about this. Fast forward 10 months later, after we were done with the digital skills program, these young people wrote their exam, and that school actually got the highest results that it had in a couple of years. And this was just from conversations and from just highlighting and making students aware what they need to do. So because of that, I'm proud to say we're going back again. We're actually starting this weekend. We're going back again to Limpopo in another region as well to attend to other learners there as well. In total, our results have been great. You will notice that we don't have humongous numbers of interns and learners and beneficiaries on our programs. And I fight a lot with many government institutions who come in and say, but Carol, you're doing a great job. Can you train 1,000? And my answer is always no, because I train for impact. I want to train 18 students, and I want those students to get employment, not only employment, but employment that's going to change the lives of their entire families. So that's what I'm about. And as we grow and as we scale, we will have the capability and the opportunity to have more people coming onto our program. Lastly, I'll just want to say we have partnered. I am a huge believer in collaboration. None of us here are here because we did it on our own. I haven't yet gone to a space where I pat myself and say, Carol, well done, you've done it, because I always look back and acknowledge everybody who's been in my journey, who's made me who I am. And Smolahong has been made who it is by the certain strategic partners that I've listed here. There are more. I need to update this. So if you're on call and you're one of my partners and you don't see yourself here, I apologize. But these are our strategic partners, and we're always open to collaborating around the digital skills space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol, so much. There's such a lot of learning points and opportunities. And over now to the three of you in terms of a better question and answer. And, you know, I'm going to ask you one question, and then I'm also going to invite Shireen for one or two questions. And this is now the point where you stand a chance to get digital vouchers, you know, and if you answer correctly, then all of us will get vouchers. Not really, but okay. So looking at what you put together in your various companies, specifically maybe going to ask Maria, is what's the one thing that you think we as women do not embrace enough?
Sure, Rena, I think there are quite a number of things, but I think that women forget that they have such a natural intersectionality of what they are. They're not just a woman always. At home, you're a caregiver, you're a parent, you're a sibling, you're a mother, you're a partner, and you keep everything in line. And then when you put yourself in a work situation, you tend to sell yourself short, and you forget about all of those extra skills that you could bring to the table. Yes, technical skills are very important, but don't sell yourself short. Embrace the fact that you have all of these other skills that you can draw on continuously, and bring that. So bring your whole self in terms of embrace who you are, and bring that to the table as well.
I think it also confirms the whole issue that we are enough, and what you also say, we can be authentic who we are. And I was wondering, you want to add?
Yes, I just wanted to say absolutely. I think when you speak authentically, it resonates so much more with people than just using the catchphrases of the day, or just using the nice, glimmery, shiny words that everyone is attaching to for that specific period. If you always speak authentically the way that you speak, and you are you, that message will carry much further.
Okay, so then you're also in charge of yourself.
Perfect, yes.
Perfect. Now I know that Nonku spoke about you need to be in charge. And I was thinking, Nikki, on your side, you know, there's a lot of things you do behind the scenes, but what are those personal strengths that served you well in your career? Nikki, okay, you on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The system's a bit slow, sorry about that. You know, I suppose some of these came up as well. I started off as a chemist, and I always remember one of our chemical practicals that we had was to create some aspirin, you know, and our lecturers on the little containers initially had no pain, no gain. And I suppose, you know, I also grew up in a household where we got our hands dirty, we got stuck into things. You know, I remember I didn't have my brother at the time, and my dad thought I was his son, so I was busy painting and building cupboards, and you know, so it never was about, oh, you're a girl and you can't do this. So I think some of those strengths is that, you know, the more you put in, the more you get out. And so just hard work, doing the, you know, hard yards, success is definitely going to be at the end of the road. And I mean, one of my mantras is be the success you want to see in the world, be the change reality in the world, you know. And so if you have that positive mindset, if you have a can-do attitude, if you say, you know, never say die, then there's lots of possibilities that come your way.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is actually success got an overall on. You need to get up and work.
There's no easy road to success.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking of Carol, you've got a lot that you shared with us, and gratitude is one of the best emotions, and I experience a lot of that with you. But what are you grateful about or grateful for?
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful for connections. Nikki, my mantra is everything is connected. I truly believe in connections, and I think Nonku mentioned something that was quite profound earlier on when she was mentioning how she's who she is because of the pillars that are around her lives. So I am grateful for those pillars as well. Mentors are like people who have come my way and, you know, shown me how to do things. And, you know, being able to fail, I always say that, and I've only learned this now that I'm a little bit older, that failure is actually good. We need to learn to embrace failure. And because of that failure and the people around me, I've been grateful in identifying, I always call it a postmortem that I do on why I failed and then trying to fix that as I go along. And if you fail 5, 10, 20 times, by the time you get to the 21st time, you're like, well, I'm certainly solid in my failures, but you're also better in what you're doing. But that happens when you have the right people around you, when you have the right connections and the pillars around you. So that's what I'm definitely grateful for.
It's an old question, thanks, Carol, but what will you tell to your younger self?
Definitely be more curious, ask, because that's gotten me places. Confidence, definitely. I'll tell myself that there is nothing to fear, absolutely nothing to fear. I'll tell myself that anxiety and fear are an illusion that are just there to block my way to doing what I want to be. I remember growing up watching cartoons, and these cartoons are doing anything and everything. They're doing whatever they want. They're anything they want to be in life. So I'll definitely tell my younger self to pay more attention to that type of attitude and then utilize it when I'm older, because indeed the world is certainly my oyster. That's true.
And I want to pose the same question, thanks, Carol, to Maria. What will you tell your younger self?
I would say take the amount of time you need at every level of your career. Don't just rise for the sake of rising. Don't just move because somebody's offering you a greater salary. Take the time to lay a good foundation where you're at. Get the knowledge, because this will alleviate the stress as you go up in your career path, because as you grow, people are expecting you to know certain things. So take the time to get to know those things. And then learn from other people as you go along, not only your technical skills, but for me personally, people that I've learned from, it was mostly of what I don't want to be. So take attributes when you have leaders, take it and say what was great about this leader and what was not so great, and make sure that you then apply that to your own personal growth as you go forward. And then the same as with Carol, sit with your failures, because that will make you to fail forward. I always say failure is the first step, because if you don't try, you won't fail. But if you try, you'll fail. But make sure to sit with uncomfortable emotions, because you're going to come across them. Everything isn't just moonshine and roses. You are going to have bad days. You are going to have difficult people to work with. You are going to doubt your abilities, but sit with that doubt. Sit with that uncomfortable feeling, because that is the space where you can actually sit and grow within yourself. Because just as it is important to have the technical knowledge, to look at the scopes of where you can grow within your skill set of a technical side, it's imperative that you also grow that side of you that will give you satisfaction when you go home at night. Did I build relationships? Did I do my best in terms of being me? Did I bring my whole personality to work, or did I have to put something aside? So take time and find your space for you to be you.
Thanks so much for the insights. And I see Tirius also say what you observe in you is resilience. So thank you for that. And I want to ask Nikki the last question is, who inspired you when you were younger?
You know, I think we often think of great influences or movie stars, etc. And, you know, if I can just think of the strong women that were around me, you know, it was my grandmother, you know, on her own, looking after an aunt with a disability, yet she worked, yet she looked after people, she was everyone, the person that everybody went to, you know, in times of need, etc. And I used to always think, wow, I'd love to be that strong, independent woman one day. If I think of my mom and my aunts, we grew up in an environment where it wasn't because you were a woman that you couldn't fish, or that you couldn't go camping or do things that men do, you know. And so growing up knowing that you were an equal meant it was never an issue for us about something where you felt less because you were a woman, but you actually just had, I suppose, that fight and resilience in you to say, well, actually, I am going to survive, and I'm not going to depend on anybody else. It's up to me to make it work. And so, yeah, the women in my life, my mom, my aunts, my grandmothers, they are the ones that inspired me.
And we will say today that, amen, it is like that. Thank you so much for your contribution, your passions, your insights. And I'm going to show one slide quickly, and then we're going to hand over to another wonderful woman. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Rena. Thank you.
So I want to share with you just this picture, and this will lead us into our next speaker. I've learned that when you are placed in hot water, you can become one of these three. You either become like an egg, really hard and sometimes terrible, or when placed in hot water, you can become a carrot. You really make soft and even too soft. Or you become like a coffee bean. We smell the aroma of your character, and you are also strong. So with that, I want to introduce you to the next speaker. Thandi is an engineering manager. She is currently functioning at Impala, running the engineering function of a challenging environment. And when placed in hot situations, believe me, she is a coffee bean. Over to you, Thandi.
Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, you good?
I'll try to. Okay. Thank you so much, Rena, for the opportunity given to me this morning. I'd like to take everyone through my background. As currently Rena mentioned that I'm an engineering manager at Impala. However, taking you back from where I come from, I was born in the Northern Cape in a place called, it's a mining area in actual fact, called Sesheng. Currently, it's where Kumba Iron Ore is, Anglo American is based at. From where we come from as a family, it's from Kuruman in a village called Bendel, for those that are familiar with Northern Cape. So growing up in that area, I grew up around mines, around the mines, in the Kuruman and in Katu area, even in around Kimberley area, because that was our town in those days when I was born. I started my journey from being from a high school background. Then I moved for tertiary and all that. But to cut that story short, I'll take you where my journey started when I started working. Because growing up, I grew up around the mines. So when I was about 12 years old, my dad, but because by that time it was a bit easier, unlike now with all the laws and procedures, I would go with my father because he worked at an open cast mine where he would be conducting blasting operations. Once everything was done, the blasting was to start. I would be standing with him somewhere where I would be monitoring what was happening. So that's where my career started at a young age, where I was interested in the mining industries. To cut the story short, I went and studied at college because of I attended my career was very long because of, I would say, delays are normally not denials. So because of my dad was a very strict father, he decided that I will attend a war school. And meaning attending a war school, I didn't know Afrikaans by then. And taking me back to 1997 when I matriculated, I was the only black girl in matric by then, meaning I had to do my subjects in Afrikaans, which I did not understand most of the time. And with that, I had to have 2 textbooks to translate for myself when the school will end. So with that, then I had to start at college to upgrade my results, my matric results. With that, being at a college, then I had to go to University of Johannesburg. But by then it was called a Wits Technikon to study mechanical engineering. I later obtained my BTech through UNISA whilst working, and my GCC Mines in Mines and Works through Anglo-American Platinum in Rustenburg when I started my engineering training. I later moved on to the Limpopo area where I worked as an engineer at Samanco Eastern Chrome Mines. Then changed because of you get opportunities with different mines. With me, it was to go through all the journeys and do all mining, all commodities. Because I started with the iron ore, moved to platinum, then moved to chrome, then I'm back in the platinum. Then went to be a production engineer at Two Rivers Platinum Mine, which is a joint venture between ARM and Implats. Now I have joined Impala Platinum in Rustenburg at One Shaft as engineering manager, which I started last year, July, as a promotion. With that, my career pathway, I gained experience in the different mining operations, dealing with vertical and conventional mining. Worked in those journeys. I had 7 years of trackless mining experience that I did around Limpopo, because most of the mines around that area, it's trackless, where you deal with your machineries, your LHDs, your bolters, your drill rigs operation, and not your conventional mining type. Then at the same time, I worked at the plants and open cast. Back to what I'm currently doing. From working at mines that were about 20 to 30 years of life, I'm currently at a mine running an old mine that is left with 5 years of life. So the challenges being currently the infrastructure is old, budget is restricted because of, I would guess, if you are a board member or if you are a shareholder, you wouldn't invest much in a mine that is left with less years to be operational. So your equipment is old, you have less labor, and nothing has changed. Your equipment is the same. I'm sure you heard that Nonku did most of her mining. Her mining journey was at one shaft. The mine is currently about 63 years old, and you can imagine the current state it is in, whereby by that time she came, it had to do about 8,000 tons, and currently we are sitting at 3,000 tons that we do on a daily basis, from 8,000 to 3,000. Equipment is still the same, because in engineering you will definitely need that. It doesn't matter that it's wide area mining and you've got less panels or less crews. The equipment will always still stay the same, but labor will be less, budget will be restricted, so you are to work with what you have in order to be productive. So those are the challenges that I currently have to deal with and make it work, so that the mine can be productive. With that, you are to take into consideration that you've got plus 3,000 employees on the mine, and with that, they have families that they are supporting. Meaning, you will be, for that mine to run, the mine is looking after more than 7,000 people out there in South Africa, based on the fact that you are running with 3,000 employees working at the mine. So you have to make sure that the mine works and is productive for the lives of all those that are inside and outside of the mine, including the communities around the area. On the professional and personal skills that I've learned in my life, it's that within the mining industry, you are to be a proactive person, to take responsibility for your own development, developing your skills and attributes, but taking into account that you have a team that you're working with. So your communication needs to be quite good. You need to be excellent in dealing with that in order to be productive, teamwork, and be a problem solver. So that has assisted me throughout the challenges. You'd imagine that as a young Black woman starting in the mining industry, in the field that I'm in, mechanical engineering, where you'll hardly see a female being in that role, it will be very difficult to change the mindset of all the men that have to report to you at that time. So you are to really do your planning quite good and organize your work, meaning the mining is quite challenging and tough. So you have to be resilient no matter how challenging it is, because you come across, especially with a mine that is like so old, you would be definitely working with employees that are about to go to pension. And you can imagine how they think, being the fact that I'm currently an engineering manager with about 500 engineering employees under me that you are to control, mainly them being men, and men that are old, that have never been used to being led by women. So you need to be resilient, because you will come across challenging situations and all that. But going back to how I grew in this field as an engineer, from the different, this is the fifth company that I have joined, from the different mines that I've worked. I went through by where you are to collaborate with those people inside and outside of your organization in order for you to grow, meaning you are to build your network. And that has helped me a lot, because of you keep your network despite where you are moving, so that you can be able to know where you are going whenever you get stuck. So with that, you connect with your people inside and outside of your mine, but with your team, in order to succeed, you need to establish a common goal with your team, because you get to the mine, you are leading men. When I look into one shaft, because it's a wide area mining, mostly the majority of the people on the mine, it's contractors, unlike any other shaft at Impala. So you are running contractors, and mainly on contractors, it's male, meaning it's like 90% it's male. It's a male-dominated mine, actually, unlike any other mines of Impala. So you are to understand what you are working towards and using your time effectively to understand the goals set out there and the plans. So with that, I had to identify my team strength, knowing each team member and their individual strengths. Be open and allow them to to be open to giving you ideas, because as a leader, you wouldn't know everything that's happening down there in the underground areas. So you become open to getting ideas from them and encourage honestly from them. And then you set your specific expectations for everyone, what is expected, because of you'll be giving them the goals and the plans of the mine, of OR Impala as a whole. That has been quite a challenge, but you have to toughen up. With that, it has helped me to unleash my infinite potential, to understand what I naturally do and what I do best. By that, identifying that I have identified my unique contribution to the team to execute. In the mining industry, number one, you are to execute. You are to influence, you are to build relationships, and to think strategically. Currently, we're working very hard. We take responsibility, because without that, you will never go anywhere. There's still a lot of work to do based on the fact that everything is restricted because it's a wide area mining with less life of mine. You are to plan and organize everything for that to achieve maximum productivity. So the best thing is to execute, you influence, you take charge, and you speak up to ensure that you are ahead. Because with the management that we're currently working with, at least currently now, which is a good thing, we recently appointed a chief safety officer who is a woman. So I've been surrounded by men in the boardroom all the time. And at times, I think through all the presentations that we have done, we mentioned in the different sectors, the employment, how many women we have in the industry currently versus the men that are employed in the mining industry, and reasons for not filling those gaps being lack of experience. It's not necessarily lack of experience. What are we doing as leaders to accommodate those women? Because of we end up not including them. So working with a male-dominated in a male-dominated environment is very difficult or challenging. You end up not being included. So what you have to do is you take charge of your section, or because of as I run engineering, we need each other as a team, be it mining, be it geology, be it rock engineering, survey. Without each other, we can't go anywhere. So you speak up to ensure that you are heard and listened to, and you put up your suggestions in order to move forward as a mine. Because without you as well, doesn't matter who you are, we cannot move forward. Building relationships is as well important.
Thank you, Thandi, so much.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the people on the call can hear the seriousness in which you approach your job. And as I say, I know how you work, and you are in hot water a lot of times. It is a difficult job. But I think today I want to ask everyone for a moment to unmute their microphones, just a moment, unmute. And we want to give you a hand of applause in terms of the work that you are doing and that you must do still on Impala. Just unmute and we see if it can work. Give Thandi applause. Thank you.
Well done, Thandi. Well done.
Thanks so much. And now we need to hand over to our younger generation.
Sorry, Rina.
Yes.
Sorry. People have to leave. So we would like to have a group photo, please. If you can mute everybody, but put your cameras on so we can take a group photo. We'll try and get everybody in here. Brilliant. Excellent. I see somebody's here. Wow, we've got 6.
Okay, everyone can now mute and switch on your cameras.
We have 69 people. We need more. We need more.
Okay, so get the lipstick. Switch on the camera. We've got Rita, we can see.
I have a lot of white spaces left. A lot of white spaces left.
Yeah. Are we good?
I'm still struggling on this side to get my camera to work.
Okay.
Not
all
working.
right.
Camera's not working. We don't know what happened.
Camera's
Okay,
not working. Have
if
you
you
got it
look
blocked
at the,
off?
if you look at the top, there's a view, and then you can also change your view to see the together mode, and you can see what we're doing. I see Shireen is looking in between two spaces. Somebody
Yes.
is in and out. But Shireen, I think, yes, we've got more people joining in. They bought the tickets. They bought the tickets. They are
Somebody's
looking forward
joining
to
me
those
on the bottom
vouchers.
row.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, we've got a
Okay.
joiner
Have
there
you
in
got
the middle.
everybody ready? Say cheers, everyone. And then I want a thumbs up from everybody, please. One second. One more thumbs up. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
a wrap. Thank you.
So while we're preparing for and get our students ready, I want to share with you the next story. There was an elder talking to a child and said that I have two wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is fearful, vengeful, envious, resentful, and deceitful. The other wolf is compassionate, loving, generous, truthful, and peaceful. The child asks, which wolf will win the fight? The elder responds, the one that I feed. So if we feed the bad, that is what we will see and experience. If we feed the good, that is what we will experience. Over to our students. Thank you.
Thanks, Rina. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bongile Khanaka, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Elliot Shu and Amfarisa Ho. I'll just quickly go through our presentation without a waste of time. So in view of the objectives of mines modernizing, our study looked into the economics of modern mining equipment used by women in mining towards supporting of health and safety. Next slide, Tiru. Tiru, next slide, please. Thank you. The South
Okay.
Sure,
Okay.
no problem. The South African mining industry is labor intensive and it is characterized by physically demanding activities that present health and safety challenges for women from a physiological standpoint of view. And in addition to it being male dominated, the harsh environmental conditions hamper job creation and retention of women, particularly in the mining industry. Now, to address these issues, the industry is making a move towards modernization, which will help improve the health and safety by employment of advanced equipment, such as the remote control LHT. Our set objectives looked at the following, which is reporting how the mechanization of equipment accommodates the health and safety of women in the underground mining environment, evaluation of challenges and benefits with the current modern mining equipment, investigating how modern mining equipment enables women participation in underground mining jobs, and if there's actually an increased participation of women in underground mining due to the use of modern mining equipment. Next slide, please. Two. Thank you. This research study, utilized the qualitative research methodology with our data gathering being conducted primarily through a desktop review. We specifically focused on the remote control LHT. Next slide, Thierry, please go to slide 4. Thank you. So based on our literature findings, we find that the industry is facing various challenges, including high operational costs, health and safety, and global challenges. Thank you, Terry. And global challenges which provide the industry with an opportunity to utilize innovative and modernized mining systems. Thank you. In addition, do you please go to slide 4? Thank you. In addition, modernization will also lend support to the ESG agenda with a specific focus on environmental monitoring. We also found a few benefits and challenges, or potential few benefits and challenges with the implementation of modernizing in the industry. We found that modernization can help promote improved health and safety. That will help mining companies with the compliance of the Mine Health and Safety Act, which can be implemented in both mechanized and non-mechanized operations. In addition, it can help promote gender equality and diversity in the workforce, supporting the Mining Charter and the MPRDA Act. Furthermore, it can potentially help support the social and labor plan objective with a specific focus on career progression of historically disadvantaged individuals, that being of women. However, challenges with implementation of modernization include higher costs of implementation and specialized training, and also increased labor costs associated with the skilled workforce. With mines mechanizing, there will be a less demand for stamina and physical strength to operate these equipment. And these technologies will require a broader range of skills, which is beyond physical strength, which supports more participation of women. And it will also help with updating of policies and practices to promote gender equality in the workplace, fostering engagement of inclusion of women in the mining environment. This will also allow for a positive impact of women in participation and retention within the environment. Next slide, please, Terry.
Under analysis of results, we first looked at the current status of women's involvement in the mining industry. Women make up approximately 12% of the mining workforce. And when we compare that with other mining nations like Canada and Australia, South Africa lags behind. And the disparity can be attributed to their higher level of modernization compared to South Africa. And we also looked at, we also compared the mining industry with other sectors here in South Africa. And when it comes to employing women, mining industry still lags behind due to the nature of mining work with its demanding conditions and potential hazards, which may discourage some women from pursuing career in this field. Physical risks and safety concerns associated with mining could also be another contribution for lower female representation compared to industries with perceived safer working environments. But that can be changed through modernization. The modernization of mining industry presents us with an opportunity for increased female participation. Technological advancements can create safer and more inclusive work environment that attract women to the sector. Next slide, please. One of the key technological advancements that have positively impacted women's participation in the mining industry is the use of autonomous LHDs. These machines represent a significant step forward in terms of modernization. And by embracing autonomous LHDs, the mining industry has empowered women and broken down barriers, promoting gender diversity and encouraging women's active participation in the mining industry. The integration of advanced safety features and technologies in modern mining equipment has significantly improved the overall safety of mining operations, the user-friendly interfaces, economic designs, noise reduction systems, and vibration deepening technologies have made operating the equipment more safer and appealing to women. As a result, we've witnessed a positive impact on women's participation in the sector. Next slide, please.
In conclusion, proper ergonomic condition can significantly reduce workplace injuries and enhance the well-being of not only the female operators, but all workers in the mine. And also, encouraging diversity and inclusivity is a key aspect of promoting women involvement in the mining industry, which may be achieved through the deployment of modern mining equipment. And another key aspect is providing training for using of modern mining equipment to ensure that women can excel in the mining sector, and equipping them with the necessary skills and knowledge to empower them to actually ensure that they are really excelling in their roles. And as we know, a well-trained and educated workforce contributes to a more prosperous mining industry. Let's explore the following recommendations that were made for this project. In order to enhance women participation in the mining industry, there is a need to conduct a comprehensive economic assessment. This involves evaluating the economic factors related to the use of mining equipment by women, and also by understanding their specific needs and creating an environment that will enable those women to support their active involvement. To achieve all this, it is crucial to ensure that women are not just passive users of this equipment, but they are also actively involved in the designing process of this mining equipment. The available insight can actually provide a better understanding of their specific economic needs in terms of this equipment. And lastly, there is a need to drive continual research and innovation efforts by continuously exploring ways to improve the economic design of mining equipment. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present to you today.
Thank you so much to the students, Sibongile, and you did pronounce your name to me, Amfarishihanu and Iletu. Thanks to the students, and I also want to appreciate your contribution by sharing the following with you. That what I see is there's a lot of people that live in the effect side of their lives. So things happen to them. But what I did see in terms of our students, they have transferred and transformed their lives towards a core side of their lives. So they are doing research to change the mining industry. And by taking charge, taking initiatives, and being the change, we will see the footprints that you leave behind in the mining industry. So thanks so much, and please share your presentations with the team so that they can read through those recommendations and that you can get traction for your research.
Thanks, Rina.
So let's give them a reaction. They're young, they want some love, they want some hands. So sharing from our side. Thanks so much. We are running to our last presentation, and
sorry, Rina,
yes.
Rita has a question. Oh,
yes.
Hi, Rita.
Hi, sorry, I withdraw.
Oh,
I was giving that.
You were trying to clap. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Great, Rita, but we're glad to see you, and we also give you a high five, yeah? So we listen to the last presentation, and Nandipa will share her career and her story. Please then stay put so that we can complete with a Mentimeter afterwards, and that we can also give through the arrangements in terms of the thank you to all of you. Over to you.
Rina, I'm glad you consider me a young star by virtue of being a student. I opted for a no presentation because I'm going to be speaking to soft issues, the kind of issues that fall through the cracks and kind of fade into the background. If anyone had told me in 1999, when I joined a large diamond company, how my career would pan out, I would have certainly thought they were just being jealous. I was ecstatic. I was thrilled to be called an employee of X Diamond Company. I had a sparkle in my soul. I was a diamond myself. Unfortunately, that would be brought to a grinding halt. My journey with this company, no doubt, had its highs as well as its lows. I mean, the salary was really good. The job itself was exciting. And this was really a good name to have in one's CV. I'm also glad that the speakers that came before me had a lot of inspiring narrations. Mine is a slightly different one. It's a kind of a valley to victory type of story. So the valley part of it is the part of my journey and my career that was marred with strife and victimization. Now, with a career that spans well over 20 years, it's naturally expected that I would have story after story, but I particularly picked this one because the circumstances around it all hinge around me being female. Melanie did interestingly mention earlier a matter that's quite close to my heart when she spoke about how women have been treated in the mining sector. And this is the essence of my story. However, I'm not here to share a sob story of being a victim, but rather the main focus of my story is the victory aspect of it. Victorious because I refused to be a victim or to remain a victim. And I also believe that women have come a long, long way and have gained a voice. Henley mentioned that as well, that women have gained a voice. But as a quick detour, though, I'd like to say, yes, women have definitely gained a voice. I believe that, and I'm truly appreciative of that fact. However, my question is, who is listening? When women speak, who is listening? Guys, when God spoke with his voice, things happened. When he said, let there be light, there was light. My question is, when women speak with this newly acquired voice, do we make things happen? Are we able to point at any significant number of instances at this point and say, women spoke there and there, and these were the quantifiable changes that we realized? So back to my story with the Diamond Company. I like to start it with one unusual encounter. So the company had hired a motivational speaker that most of you might be familiar with, Clive Simpkins, to address this. We filled up a massive auditorium. It was filled to capacity. And he asked a few simple questions, 5 simple questions. You know, the typical questions: what's your favorite color? What's your favorite flower? Favorite this and that. And he got very typical answers. He then turned around and sort of tried to figure out who gave the typical answers. I'd say about 88%, 90% of the room had, uniform answers. And then eventually he got to asking who had none of those answers as their own answer. And I was one of the handful of people that did not give an answer that was similar to everybody else's. He asked us to come down to the front of the auditorium and face the audience. He said, and I'm paraphrasing him, he said, take a good look at these people, because the few that you see now in front of me, you shall see no more, because they will definitely get fired because they're just too different. And true to his word, in no time I was fired. And this is the reason why I got fired. The HR manager, a young Black man who, this is now in about 2001, and transformation was still very fresh. So I guess it was and he was young, and I guess it was quite exciting for him to hold a powerful position like that, in such a powerful company. And he somewhat abused it, and he decided he was entitled to having me as his girlfriend. And I guess not so politely turned him down, and he vowed to make my life miserable and he started the process of getting me fired. In the process, I then talked to the union members, and they recommended that I speak to a very senior union representative who, interesting enough, was now no longer a union member because the company had promoted him. He was now in the London office, but I started communicating with him nonetheless. He was a renowned representative, and I was assured that he would take care of my issues. Started communicating with him, and we started building this relationship. Long story short, he made his way back to South Africa on a business visit. And he said, look, I don't have much time, but I can come see you over at your house, which was a little uncomfortable. But, you know, when you're caught between a rock and a hard place, and you view this person as your only way out. So I agreed. And to that end, I landed myself being victimized, violated in my own house. And the senior, very respected member of the company raped me in my own house. So talk about jumping out of the pen into the open fire. And eventually I then left the company because it was a no-win situation. Oh, by the way, I then contacted this political organization, a very special unit of it. And they said, look, we've deployed our guy there. He is within that company. He'll surely help you. I approached him, and he told me exactly what I didn't want to hear. He said to him, go and apologize. And I remember writing that apology and being in tears because I wasn't being true to self. You know, somebody mentioned earlier being authentic. That authenticity had left me, and authenticity was a big thing for me. And so I wrote this apology, printed it out, tore it up, threw it in the bin, and I felt so much better. Left the company, and as God would have it, I got a job at a state organization. I joined this department. It was going very well. I was now doing SMME development in mining, heading the small scale mining division. And then I came across a woman. So what would happen is that so I was at head office. In the regions, you know, these SMMEs were really looked down upon. This woman who fascinated me because she only had a standard 3 qualification, grade 5 for the youngsters. And she was a very hardworking lady, and she was very determined. The regions were very dismissive of such people, and and I'm paraphrasing, the regional manager then said to her, why don't you go see Nandipa at head office? She's very enthusiastic about helping your kind. And so she was sent to me, and I took it upon myself to help her. At some point, you know, in instances, I would be denied facilities from my work. I would have to tap into my own resources. I was happy to do that. Then I realized that this could be a very beautiful success story of taking a very disempowered woman and catapulting her into success. Then I took her and introduced her to a special projects type of setup in the senior executive's office there. And they were so happy about her. Little did I know that she was only going to be used as a token. Before I knew it, she had been flown down to Cape Town, and she was fronting for some politicians. And then because they knew that I knew about the story, they came back to me and they said, look, we will give you 20% of these platinum mining rights if you play along. And I said, no, thank you. And I mean, I was really excited about my salary. I was content with my salary. Also, I guess a bit naive because I was very upfront in my turning the offer down. And for me, my biggest disappointment, I wanted to say disgust, but maybe not. My biggest disappointment was that she then played into their hands, the very woman that I had been trying to empower. When I then got fired by the department and they made up stories about me, she then became their witness, and she was bearing false witness against me. And I mean, those like I said, I'm mentioning these stories. The first one was, like I said, hinged around me being female. The second one, I'm not sure how to categorize it, but it was my helping this lady was driven by the passion that I have for empowering women. And because she also felt disempowered, she couldn't say no to them asking her to betray me. So the essence of my story is that by virtue of being a woman, you will encounter this and that. However, all of that having happened, remember I was heading the SMME development. That passion did not leave me because I was doing it out of a passion. It did not leave me. When I was working for the department, I was part of the team that pioneered something called the Small Scale Mining Board, which was a brilliant idea, I thought, at the time, because this is a board that comprised several service providers that would assist SMMEs or small-scale miners in the sector with everything they needed, starting from exploration, which is currently not even looked at by funding entities, including our state-owned or co-owned entities. But, you know, as the Small-Scale Mining Board, we would do that. That's what we started. And we would get the technical, the technical partners, we would get them to do the technical work, whether it be exploration or testing for samples, and eventually drawing up a bankable, feasible document for you to get funding. But then I took years later, so I then explored, you know, several avenues in terms of business and my career at large. And eventually I realized that that passion is still burning inside of me. I cannot leave it. So I resuscitated that. So 2.5, 3 years ago, I then started a company. At the time it was called the Center for Small Scale Mining Development. I would eventually change it to Center for Industrial Development. The concept was very similar to the Small Scale Mining Board, which is a platform of companies that would work together to empower, like real empowerment, so that you don't find yourself, you don't get to a point where you're like, now I've come unstuck. I can't move because I need a geological report to take to a funder, or I've been appointed by a particular mine, but I can't move in terms of procurement because I don't have the capital layout. So that's what my company does. I was interrupted when I had to take on my studies full time, but the company is still up and running. It's got a platform that's digitally run by expert in that space. We do believe that we're gaining traction. We've been fortunate that there's been an unconventional funding company that has now decided to come in and throw their weight behind us and fund. And I'm trying to keep this really brief, but you know, to sum it up, I just want to say it's difficult enough as it is to be a woman in this space. And if you dare to be different, and this is why I brought up the Clive Simpkins thing, at that I guess I turned out to be different. And if you stand your ground, you are likely to be victimized, but we can all turn that around into a victory story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And it's tough to share some of the hard stuff and the realities. And we also appreciate the story, but also the way that you then turned that situation around in terms of being meaningful to others. So I want to share this story then to say what I've seen with all the women that presented today in their different ways, that you are really making a difference. And the story of the starfish is an old one, but I will read it for you. An old man was walking on the beach one morning after a storm. In the distance, he could see someone moving like a dancer. As he came closer, he saw that was a young woman picking up starfish and gently throwing them into the ocean. Young lady, why are you throwing starfish into the ocean? The sun is up and the tide is going out. And if I do not throw them in, they will die, she said. But young lady, do you not realize there are miles and miles of beach and thousands of starfish? You cannot possibly make a difference. The young woman listened politely, then bent down, picked up another starfish and threw it into the sea. It made a difference for that one, she said. Thank you for everyone that through your stories and your insights made a difference today. Maybe not to one, but maybe to all 67 people that's on the call. I want to hand over to our RIS team, Camila, that's going to facilitate us to complete the Mentimeter. Over to you, Camila.
Thank you so much, Rena. And thank you to our speakers this morning. I hope we're all feeling sufficiently inspired after this session. I know that I definitely am. So yes, I'm Camila. I'm an analyst at RIS, the Research Institute for Innovation and Sustainability. And I'll be inviting you all to participate in an interactive Mentimeter session with me this morning. So some of the topics that we'll cover have been explored pretty thoroughly and eloquently by our speakers in the sessions prior to this, but I really encourage you all to use this as an opportunity to maybe reflect on the information that we've received this morning and explore these issues through your own personal stories, opinions, and experiences. So I really encourage discussion in this session. If you have any thoughts or reflections that you'd like to add on the presentations that we've heard this morning. Your thoughts matter, your individual stories matter. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. And I really look forward to engaging with you all in this session. Driving gender equality forward is a collective effort. So yeah, let's get into it. On the screen, I have instructions. I'd like to ask you all to please go to the link on screen, www.menti.com. and enter the code shown on screen. Alternatively, you can use the QR code and it'll also take you to the Mentimeter that we'll be participating in today. I see we've got about 9 people. Let's see if we can get a few more people in. It'd be really nice we'll be asking your opinions, getting some feedback, and it would be really nice to have a record of your responses so that we can share it. Everything will be anonymous though. But also I will be asking my team members to please, I'm not able to see hands, but RIS team, if you're able to please monitor the Teams forum. If anyone would like to put a hand up and speak and share their thoughts with us verbally, that is more than welcome. Right, I think we can get started. So to start us off, I've got a quote here. It says, "Gender equality in mining is not just a women's issue, it's a business and societal imperative." Do you agree or disagree with this statement? And I see that pretty unanimously our forum agrees with this statement. Would anyone like to provide a little bit of detail on why you think gender equality is so important for business and society as a whole, and not just for women specifically?
Kim, I do see a request so that you can go back and share the code or the QR code again.
It's on the slide, Rena, at the top. If you see they join at Menti, can I read it out for everybody? 5430-1269.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rena. Thanks, Thiru. Melanie, I saw that you had a hand up, I believe. Was that to comment on the statement, or was it regarding the code?
No, Camila, I think you asked the question as in, do we want to comment on the question that you've raised?
Yes.
And I think that that's my response to it, is that it's not just a women's issue, because people form part of a community, a broader community, and the issues actually filter down to the community. So it's not just a business and societal, not just a business and societal imperative, It's a broader issue that actually filters down just sort of a value chain approach, is that people form part broader communities, and that if we can't address it from that level, it obviously has a domino effect to lower industries. Thanks.
Thanks, Melanie.
Absolutely.
May I suggest that we go through the Mentimeter? We do actually have some time at the end after the Mentimeter for people to share their comments, queries, whatever, and give us, any of their insights from today. Kieran, I see you had your hand up, and Poncho. Do you require the code? Or you're having trouble? So with an Android device, you cannot use the QR code. You have to go into the browser. You can only scan
No,
it.
I was fine.
No, sorry,
I
with
was
an
going to make a
iPhone.
comment on that. So I'm
Oh,
fine.
sorry, with an iPhone, you cannot go into you can't use the QR code, but you can only use the QR code with an Android device. Apologies. You'd have to go into the browser, which is menti.com, and then use the code for the survey. Thank you so much.
Thanks, dear. Thanks, Karen. I thought maybe you were going to say something, Karen. Perhaps you can share your thoughts with us while the rest of the room maybe leaves their comments on the qualities that you believe women bring to the mining industry that enhance its success. As you can see, everything that you type will come up here. And we have a beautiful little word collage of all the qualities that women bring to the mining industry. To enhance its success. We've got preciseness, calmness, empathy. That's a very important one. Responsibility. Thanks for that, everyone. So I know that we are a little bit pressed for time. So if you could please just continue adding. And then in about 10 seconds, I'm going to move on to the next question for us. Kindness, soft skills, calmness. These are lovely. Thank you. Test your knowledge. Okay, so this was actually mentioned by one of the presenters this morning. What percentage of the South African mining workforce do women currently represent? What do you think? So it's a bit of a trivia for us. Okay, overwhelmingly, we do have 11 to 20% as the response here, and it's the correct answer. So that's 12% according to current statistics. Women make up 12% of the mining workforce. Just very quickly, sorry, I know we are pressed for time, but do we have any thoughts about that figure? How do we feel about 12% being the current constituents of female representation in mining? All right, no comments on this one. Obviously, we are very proud of the women making strides in mining, representing part of that.
Sorry, Kim, I did say that. I think it's quite low. I mean, when you look at the EAP itself, the representation of people that are actually available to look for employment, it's quite very, very low. Yeah, no. I think we are the lowest
Yeah.
that we are attracting females in our spaces, and we see that the operations as well. Thanks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I hear you saying that we have made progress, but we have a long way to go. All right. What actions can mining companies take to improve gender equality in the workplace? Please, could you just jot down any thoughts, anything over and above what we've heard today, or just comments on some of the suggestions that we have had, or anything that you feel from your personal experience or actions that mining companies can take to improve gender equality in the workplace and specifically in a mining environment? Be more inclusive, absolutely. Because inclusivity obviously fosters psychological safety, which enhances productivity. And so that's very, very important to create a culture, culture transformation. Be deliberate in the provisions made in terms of the work and requirements. I'd be very interested to know whether there's anything related to flexibility, work-life flexibility, or gender pay gaps and things like that. If anyone has any comments on those sorts of factors. Mentorship, as we've heard. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, this is a good one. What role do men play in advancing gender equality in mining? I know that we had a few gentlemen in the room as well. I'm not sure whether they're all still with us by the end of the session. But ladies and gentlemen, I definitely think men have a very important role to play in advancing gender equality. What do you think men can do in supporting this initiative? Support structure. Challenging traditional gender norms, that's nice. I think whenever we have a platform to facilitate equality in any sphere, it's important that we use that platform, and men should never underestimate the power that they have, I think, in using their voice to change the status quo, as I see someone has said here. So thank you very much to the men who participated today. And if you are still around, please also remember to use your voice going forward. It is much appreciated and really makes a difference. Okay. Now, one of the big themes in FatCap is mining modernization. So we want to ask what opportunities modernization presents for advancing gender equality in mining. So we've heard wonderful things like there being technologies which make the workplace safer. We've heard that there may be ergonomic factors regarding machinery design and things like that. Are there any other thoughts regarding the role of modernization in gender equality in mining? And again, thank you so much to our speakers for your wonderful insights in your presentations. I think we've all learned so much and have a lot to think about going forward. It can disadvantage female players. That's an interesting one. I'd like to ask for more, whoever put that down to extrapolate, maybe if you could just write down in the chat or extrapolate further later on, that would be great. What are your thoughts around the role of networking and mentorship as a driver of gender equality in mining? If we can quickly just jot down some of our thoughts on this one. And if anyone has also any comments on how networking and mentorship has maybe helped them advance their careers, what their experience has been with it. I'd love if you would jot something down. Okay, what opportunities and paths for career advancement should women in mining be aware of? Here I'd love for some of the more experienced ladies to put down sort of their insights regarding opportunities for career development and the things that they've seen for other women coming after them. Hey, I would now really like to request that everyone put down a pledge on the Gender Equality Pledge wall. So, as I've mentioned before, advancing gender equality is a collective effort. It takes all of us working together in little ways or big ways to move the dial on this initiative. So, please could everyone put down one thing that they'll be doing going forward, be it supporting women coming up, be it contributing to culture, creating a safe environment at work, whatever the case may be. What will we be doing to advance gender equality? Pop that down here. And please commit going forward to implementing these in our daily lives so that the women who come after us can have the opportunities that, you know, women before us worked to give us as well. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a real pleasure interacting with you this morning. I've learned so much. I feel so inspired, and I have a lot to take away from this. Thank you. Rena, back to you.
Thank you so much, Kim. And I want to close our session with a reminder of what we started with, to say, first of all, thank you to all the people that's facilitating change and transformation. You create a pathway, and it is really appreciated. So positive leadership is for us to choose to focus on what elevates individuals and organizations, to go and look for what goes right as well. What is life-giving? What is experienced as good? What is extraordinary? And what is inspiring? And focus on where we can make a difference. I really want to thank the Mandela Mining Precinct and the team, Dr. Sherina Rampachat, Tsepu on your side, Sibongile, that's part of the core team. From the REIS side, Chiru, thank you for your leadership. Camila, also for your diligence, and Tombi for your support. From the SML for Change team, thank you to all the coaches that's currently underground and they don't join because they're working, and to Randy that did some of our designs. I also want to remind you that you can still use the chat and put any questions there, and also your email, because after this we will email out the token of appreciation. And please also remember that all the views that was shared today is the different speakers' views, their inputs, their contributions, and it does not represent the views of SADCAP. So thank you to all. Be blessed, and then we'll disseminate also the presentations, so you can just in the chat leave any other questions. Be safe, and thanks so much. Thierry, anything from your side?
No, I'm just in awe. Shireen called this morning, said, we have 90 people accepted, and we started off the call with 75. And through everybody who shared the invitation with their networks, everybody that gave up 3 hours of their time to be with us today, you inspired us. You make us as better people as the SADCAP program, trying to make a difference. And I'd like to thank everybody. We are giving you a little voucher to say thank you for your time and participation. I hope you do get to spoil yourself. But please, if you haven't shared your email address in the chat will be open. So please do share that. And we will be, Tsepo from Mandela Mining Precinct will definitely be sharing the links to the presentations. And they'll be available tomorrow. Much obliged, and enjoy your day further. Thank you so much.
Thierry, I'm going to ask for those who are still on the call. Please also remember that the month of August is not only Women's Month, but it is also Organ Donor Month. So I remind you of this important function where we can make a difference in terms of organ donation in South Africa. there's a lot of benefits if you do tell your family that you one day, will be open to organ donation if it comes to that point in your life. And in South Africa, there's a shortage of donors. We need to refer donors. I'm part of a NPO called TEL, where we educate people about the importance of organ donation. And for August month, this is also our passion, so that people are more informed. So if you are interested and you don't know enough about TEL, the organization that's driving this campaign, you can also be in contact with myself so that I can expose you to this important function in August month. Thanks, so.
Thank you, Rena, for that. I think a lot of us don't realize how important organ donation is for people. It's something where it actually is quite helpful in helping the family that has lost a loved one with dealing with the trauma, so that they know that the life lost was not in vain, and you could be changing somebody's life for like the better. In South Africa, we really need, we have a high fatalities, motor vehicle accidents, other accidents, etc. And it's such an important initiative. Good luck, Rena. We will be sharing the attendance register. We believe in making sure that networks happen. So, for example, we have so many people from the mines in different provinces here. And I'd like to thank WIMSA and SIAM, etc., for distributing, and also the DEI leads in Women in Mining, as well, for distributing the invitation. I'm so pleased that we had such a great turnout. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day further. Thanks, Rena. Over and out.
Thank you all. Good. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Be
Thanks
safe.
all. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Quickly,
Bye.
we'll have some music now. We'll have some
Thank
music now.
you.
Are we having some quite